And joining me to talk about this, someone who knows the case very well, has been in that Cobb County courthouse, CNN legal analyst, great attorney, Philip Holloway. All right, let's talk about finding an impartial jury. It's going to be tough when you talk about all the publicity and the salacious details, allegations he's sexting while Cooper's dying.
Well, you know, Mike, I practice in that county, and I've got my ear to the ground pretty well, and I'm convinced they will be able to find an impartial jury, at least one that hasn't made up their mind. There's not going to be really anybody that hasn't heard about the case. I think most everyone has, but I do believe there's a lot of people in Cobb County that really don't know what happened because, quite frankly, the prosecution hasn't laid out all of the evidence yet. We've only seen a few bits and pieces here or there, so I think they can find an impartial jury.
As you're asking the juror, potential jurors, questions, you're asking how much they know, I'd imagine. How many details have they heard? And are you going to get down to, if you're an attorney, a parent versus a non-parent? Is that going to be big?
You know, I've thought about that question quite a bit. If I were prosecuting or defending this case, would I want a parent on the jury? And the only conclusion that I can come to is that it really could cut both ways. And I really don't know how you're going to get a jury that has no parents on it. I suspect there will be quite a few parents, and there's probably going to be some people who don't have children. Because I really think that issue cuts both ways. You know, there are people who are primary caregivers who drive children all the time, all day. And somebody like that might, for example, be a better prosecution type jury because maybe that person can't quite buy into the idea that, hey, I don't see how anyone could forget a child. On the other hand, someone who is not a primary caregiver, who occasionally carries a child in a car seat, maybe that person might be more open to the idea of, hey, I can see how it would happen. So parent, non-parent, I think, is really a 50-50 proposition.
Gotcha. Let's talk about motions being filed from both sides. The defense, they want to keep out some kind of, you give us more detail, but some sort of a reenactment, right? That with GoPro cameras that would show a juror, this is the size of the vehicle. This is, little Cooper was right behind, correct? And so the defense, they want that out.
Yeah, so there was some motions filed last week that basically suggest that the prosecution may intend to reenact this drive by using a video as well as a 3D animated recreation. Now, Georgia law sort of disfavors recreations because unless there's an eyewitness or some independent way to corroborate what the recreation shows, there's inherently a certain amount of guesswork allowed into it. Now, that being said, Mike, I can tell you that Georgia law does permit demonstrative aids if they're simply used for the purpose of helping a jury to understand the testimony that comes out from the witness stand. And the judge does have the discretion to let that in, although if it's really misleading and the judge believes that the defense in that regard, she may very well keep that out.
Got it. Because on the other side, and our own Natisha Lance is reporting that she's at that courthouse at the prosecution filing a motion. They want to take the jury to the scene. They want them to see the car, that 2011 Hyundai Tucson. So that's really huge and key in all of this. And we'll see how all of that plays out. And speaking of that, keep it right here.